Wolf was my nickname when I was in college, and it had been my dad's nickname before me, so that's why. Talk about the album cover. This was an actual neon light that was made by the art department of Warner Electra Asylum. And it's you know, I mean, nowadays you could make this in Photoshop in no time. But they actually crafted a real neon light that I carried around for years. I had it, they just let me take it home with me. I didn't do anything with it, and finally it got broken, and so I junked it. But it was cool. I like this cover. The brick wall and the neon sign, the Wolf Bar and Grill. So I'll go song by song. Call Me. It's the first song on the album, and it was the second single. And it's a song that I wrote with Finest Henderson. Finest had been in the band that I was in with Al McKay for a brief period of time. And Al McKay is Finest's cousin. And so I asked Finest if he wanted to write lyrics to this, and he said yeah, and he did. He did a good job, and then when I got a chance to do the demo, we recorded it, and he sang his ass off, just so good.
Call me, love, please call me. Won't you call me, love, please?
Call Me is something that the melody came first. I never really know where a song is going to come from. And this one was really different because I remember exactly how it happened. I was at home and I was playing Stevie's Send One Your Love on my Fender Rhodes because I loved that song. And then just subconsciously, I played just the first four notes of the melody of Send One Your Love. And then my fingers played it backwards. And I'll go, wait a minute, what's that? Well, what if it does this? Okay, well then what if you had chords that did this? And before I knew it, I had the structure to what became the chorus of Call Me. With the deep. So that's where you're going. Then I had to write the place that gets you to where you're going. Right? The chorus is the payoff. I needed to write a verse. And so I did that. I didn't have lyrics. I had a melody. And that's where Finest came in. He wrote the lyrics to it. And we did the demo version. And it was cool. I mean, we did a lot of experimental stuff. The song opens up with the sound of a backwards cymbal. I don't even know whose cymbal it was. Did I own a cymbal? I don't know. Somehow I got my hands on a like a 18-inch crash cymbal and banged the hell out of it, and we recorded that and flipped the tape over and lined it up so that when it got to the impact of being struck was when the song started. So that's what you hear on the intro. The other thing about that song that I like is the breakdown has got the brass part that I did on a Mini Moog. And I regret that those aren't mixed a little higher, because that part came out nice. and it was 6 tracks of mini Moog trumpet.
Just like when the eagles soar.
And I tried to vary the every time that I played it, because it was unison. It wasn't like a horn section being written in harmony. But I tried to vary the inflections in the bloop, you know, like a real trumpet player would do. And then they also play on the choruses going out. I wish that they had been mixed a little louder. But it was a nice. I like that sound. It was 6 tracks of mini Moog trumpet that we bounced down to a stereo pair to save room. What else was on that song? I don't know. I think that's probably about it. And then later, the logistics of it got a little bit weird, because in the meantime, Al got Finus a deal with Motown and set about producing a solo album for Finus on Motown, which all was happening around the same time. So there was discussion back and forth on whether or not we could even issue Call Me as a single, or keep it on the album. It was a little dicey for a while, but I didn't have to get involved. The legal departments between Solar and Motown, they worked it out, and all was well. But I think that's the reason why Finus doesn't sing Why Do You Do Me, because Finus was one of the lyric writers on that song, and originally, I'm pretty sure, if I remember right, Finus was going to sing it. But then it got complicated to have him sing 2 songs on my album once he had become a Motown artist. So John Gibson sings and does a great job on Why Do You Do Me. But Finus was one of the lyric writers on that.
I don't believe I've ever been so shy. I don't believe it, baby. Could it be that you're the reason why?
So Shy is mostly notorious on the internet because of Michael Jackson's appearance doing background vocals. And most of the comments are disbelief. They say, I don't hear Michael, and, all that kind of thing. You're not going to hear him. He's blending, as people in vocal groups are trained to do. But the funny thing about it is that I had pitched him this song when he came over to my house, and we were working on the rhythm arrangement for Say, Say, Say. I played him the track, and he started dancing. I said, damn, you see Michael Jackson dancing to one of your grooves. Then I said, hey, this song needs lyrics. Do you want it? But anyway, so no, that didn't happen. But then who knew that he'd wind up singing background vocals on it? And that was only because they got done singing Papa Was a Rolling Stone so fast. Michael said, don't you have another song we could sing on? And I said, yeah. I had to cue up So Shy. But So Shy didn't have lyrics. When I got my deal with Solar, I had an instrument, just some kind of synth doing the melody line. And after Dick found John Gibson and played him for me, and I said, yeah, this guy is perfect. And I met with John, and I said, you want to try to write lyrics for this? And the other tune he wrote lyrics for became Wake Up, and he said, yeah. And he went off, and in no time flat, he had written 2 good sets of lyrics. And he was 19, 20 years old, very young, but very talented. And he does a great job on the vocals. Window on a Dream was an instrumental. And it's a different flavor on the album. The album's, it's really, when you think about it, it's kind of eclectic, because some songs are instrumentals, and there's 3 different singers, and, there's 2 songs with vocoder. Window on a Dream was very laid back, got that kind of flute sound carrying the melody, quasi-gospel changes. The title came from, we had this cat who was an outdoor cat. She got hit by a car, and her front paw got kind of curled up, so we started keeping her in because she was kind of crippled. She could still hobble around. She wasn't in pain. It healed up nice, but it was, that paw was bent up. Because then she became an indoor cat. She would sit in the windowsill all day and look outside. She still wanted to go outside. We didn't let her. So that was her window on a dream. It was first song I wrote about a cat. Later I wrote another one that did even better. So that was Window on a Dream.
It was the 3rd of September.
Papa Was a Rolling Stone was the first single off the record. And Dick Griffey took out a full-page ad in Billboard with all kind of quotes from, people in the business saying, wow, this is the greatest thing since sliced bread. I don't remember where I got the idea of doing that with a vocoder, but I did. And the arrangement that I did of it took it into a different place, which is what a cover version should do. I mean, Stevie told me once, there's no point in doing a cover version unless you put your own stamp on it. And I think he's right. And I did that with Papa Was a Rolling Stone. I mean, I got those bass runs in there and the string. I still kept the original vibe of the tune, which is a extremely cool vibe. I love that song. Otherwise, I wouldn't have covered it. But doing it on the vocoder was cool, and the change up with electronic drums and all that. But it needed something, and that something was Nate Watts. And I got Nate to come and double that bass line. And then it's like, oh my God, it's, took the energy level way up. And just, Nate brought his, and Nathan Watts is a national treasure. He brought a lot more funk to it than what I had in there. And that was fun. And then when we got the background vocals in there, it's like, man, that thing just took off. And I liked the string sound. I had the strings were a combination of the CS80 and a sample on the emulator. And it is also doubled with the Rhodes. And that's a really nice, mysterious sound of those strings creeping in. Papa Was a Rolling Stone was a fun song to do. But Papa Was a Rolling Stone, one of the things I like about when I listen back to it now is I realized that's the first time that I had ever recorded my fake guitar stylings with the Mini Moog. And that still sounds good. I mean, it's just a Mini Moog, but it's blasting through a twin reverb with a fuzz tone and a wah-wah pedal. And that's the thing about imitating guitars. You think about what guitar players do. If you just take the unprocessed sound straight out of the guitar and go right into the board with it, then you have that just ultra clean signal. Most of the tone is coming from where that cable from the guitar goes to, right? Because they've got like a pedal board of 19 million different effects, and then into an amp that also gives it a lot of color. So that's what I got to thinking about. I said, well, why wouldn't that work with a synthesizer? And it did. And it sounds really good. And over the years, I wound up doing that same thing, whether it was a CS80 or even a DX7 or any kind of thing. These days I do it with a sampled version of a 62 Stratocaster. And that one's the best yet. But anyway, I like that. This is the first time that I was able to do my fake guitar solos, which I love to do still after all this time. Nobody Knows is an instrumental. It's that guitar flavored thing. This was the one that I think Stevie was going to offer to George Benson. But nothing came of that, so it's here. It's called Nobody Knows, because what do you name an instrumental tune? Nobody knows, right? It's the hardest. I always found it difficult to name an instrumental song.
Tell me why you do me? Why you do me? Why you do me? When I've done everything to please ya. Why you do me?
Why Do You Do Me opens up the second side. It's a good funk tune. It's got one of the things I picked up listening to Quincy and Bruce Swedien was the way they would mix with subgroups, like the fade on Don't Stop Till You Get Enough. Just like everything fades out except for some of the rhythm instruments. And I used that technique on this. Because it's just a cool effect. You just put everything on a subgroup, and you pull out like all the drums or all of this, and then you just have all these rhythm instruments going, or just the percussion or whatever. And that's a cool thing to do. I still do that. And then after Why Do You Do Me, you get Wake Up. And I think Wake Up, maybe Wake Up, I mean, Wake Up sounds like such a jazzy, dreamy kind of song, but maybe it should have been one of the singles, because all the time since then, I see so many comments where people saying that the Wake Up is the one that they remember. And it seems to be everybody's favorite. I think Wake Up is my favorite of all the songs on it. If I got to pick a favorite, which I usually resist. But Wake Up is got an interesting structure. Wake Up is a special song. I really love what John did with this. I mean, and his vocal on it is just superb. Really good. Never gets old. And the song is cool. It's got an odd chord structure to it, because it's really in C minor, but it starts on a D sus7 chord. Go figure. I don't know why, but it's just one of those things that I'm sitting at the piano and I happen to go from playing that D sus chord to a G minor 7 over C, and that's where it started. And then it's essentially it's all in C minor, but so where does the D chord come from? And it's odd to start on a chord that's not even really in the tonality of the song. But I think that's one of the things that makes it makes it interesting, makes you wake up, pun intended. Nate played. I asked Nate to bring his fretless bass, and he said, "I haven't played this thing in years," but he did a great job. I love Nathan Watts. Anyway, it's a special tune. I love the string sound that I got. It's a combination of emulator and CS80. And I got a harp sound that I did on a Prophet 5, is cool, and the roads is kind of the main thing. You know, the same roads that wound up on Say Say Say. So I like that tune.
You come to me, a gentle soaring bird on a wind that is sweet and wild and warm.
Soaring's got those kind of gospel Stevie Wonder chords, and I always wanted Stevie to play on it, and he did, and I'm so thankful to him for that. And that that solo he plays, he didn't ask what key it was in, didn't ask anything about it. He just pulled that solo out. That's first or second take, I don't know what, but he came up with a better melody than I did for this song. It's just very cool. Crystal Blake is the guest vocalist on that. Crystal was from Stevie's world. She was married to Stevie's cousin, Quill Fudge. And they were always down at Stevie's studio, and I got to know them. They were just part of the Stevie's extended family. And so I asked Crystal if she would sing on it, because I liked her voice. And she did. She did a great job. Camouflage, get the vocoder out again. That's a fun song. It's got more of the guitar. No, I mean it's funky, but it's got that rock edge to it with the guitar. Pop Quiz was another instrumental, but it very melodic, and it's got a bumping acoustic piano solo that I recorded on the Steinway at Alan Zent's. And that closes the album out. It's got a lot of synthesizer overdubs and explosions and whatnot. And my friend Wayne O'Milstein playing Cuica on that. That's that. So that's the album. It was so much fun to do this, to be turned loose in a beautiful studio. And to be able to, did I deserve to be there? I don't know. I just as mediocre as anybody else, I guess. So
a total mediocrity.
No. He has yet to achieve mediocrity.
I mean, it didn't take over the world when it came out. That's the thing I'm talking about, when it was just sheer willpower, But people heard it and thought it had potential, and Dick Griffey did not, throw away money needlessly. He heard it and thought it had potential. So, therefore, boom. I can't complain. I mean, the fact that the album had 2 singles released from it, because, I mean, back then, to release a single is you're going to have it mastered, and then you're going to have it pressed. I mean, it's like you're making physical copies. You're taking a bet that you're going to sell X number of copies, and it's probably in the thousands that they pressed them, So, I mean, that album got a shot. I definitely know it got promoted. Dick went on the road himself to promote that record. For whatever reason, it didn't happen. But you know what? I'm proud of it, and like I said, it's in the 40 years since then, I think I've heard from all 8,000 people who bought the thing. It didn't quite get the sales that we wanted. You know, I mean, forget platinum or gold. It didn't get certified plywood. It got certified cardboard.
It's outrageous. Still, if the public doesn't like one's work, one has to accept the fact.
Dick really put a lot of support behind this album between the full-page ad and Billboard, and I saw him go out on the road to promote the record, and we did that showcase at the Roxy Theater, and the album didn't, you know, turned out the album didn't sell, but you never know, you know, and yet here we are talking about it 42 years later. Very bizarre. Yeah, what are you going to do? You know, all I know is I don't have any regrets from it. There's nothing that I listen to and think, I wish that I had done that differently or whatever. I'm proud of it after all this time. It's held up well over the years. And like I say, I still get compliments on it. Dick Griffey insisted that we do a show to showcase the album to the, I'm not even sure who all was there, but he invited all the trades, you know, Billboard magazine, DJs, influential people, and it was a one-night only thing at the Roxy Theater on Sunset Boulevard. And I was horrified that I would have to put together a band and recreate the record on stage for one night only. I tried to talk him out of it, but he insisted. And he was right. I mean, it was a lot of work. I had to put together a band. I had to get a second keyboard player. I used a lot of the musicians that played on the album. This is me. This is before, after. Frightening, isn't it? Before, after. Anyway, it was just one night only. Weeks of rehearsing and stressing over this thing, but we did the whole album live at the Roxy, and including Papa Was a Rolling Stone with the vocoder, and as you can see, I borrowed a Sequential Circuits keytar to be like a wild and crazy guy. Finus Henderson was there, Crystal, John Gibson, Wayne O'Milstein, Jonathan Moffat on drums. It was nerve-wracking, but we pulled it off, and it actually sounded good. And at least it got a good reception. I don't know. Thankfully, no recording of it exists. But the people were happy, and Dick was happy. He just wanted to launch it with a showcase, even though I wasn't a performing act. I didn't have a band. I did not want to do it. It terrified me. I used to get live gig nightmares, you know, like the nightmares that everybody gets about you're in school and all of a sudden there's a pop quiz and you didn't do your homework, or, you know, or you look down and you're not wearing any pants, that kind of thing. School anxiety nightmares. I used to have gig nightmares where you're at a gig and your keyboard doesn't work and the bass player doesn't show up, and it's because I had a lot of gigs that were the stuff of nightmares. But anyway, that one came off barely. The bass player almost quit the day of the show, but we worked it out, and all was well, and he did a good job. And that happened. So we launched the album, and it did not do well. But you know, one thing I'll give Dick Griffey credit for is he saw it as a building process, and it wasn't the end. You know, a lot of times people would have a shot like that, and that'd be it. You know, the record comes out and didn't happen. It'd be, well, you had a shot, and you know, sorry, but another 500 guys got off the bus today, so we're going to give one of them a try. Because that's really what the music business is like. It's extremely unforgiving, as I found out a short time later, just a couple of years later, when I had a magnificent high visibility fail that basically ended my career as a hotshot Hollywood record producer. But that's another story for another day. But this came out, didn't do what we wanted, but as I said, Dick saw it as a building process, and we went on, and the next thing was for me to produce John Gibson's solo album. And that'll be the story of another video, and that was a lot of fun, because that was a different thing, because I could just be a producer and not worry so much about having to play all the instruments. I could call other musicians, and I did. There was a couple of tunes that I didn't even play on, and that was kind of nice. Onward and upward. Thanks for watching, as always. I don't take it for granted. I appreciate it. If you haven't subscribed, I want to know why not. Are you not entertained? So, like, subscribe, and share. It's up to you. And I love the comments. Keep them coming. I read all of them, and I respond to many. So I do like the interactive nature of the platform. So thanks, and I'll see you down the road. Arrivederci. Ciao.
Mediocrity's everywhere. I absolve you. I absolve you. I absolve you.